Hello and welcome back to Roundtable Movie Talk. I'm Michael Bishop, and joining me today is Jim Evans.
Howdy.
And Adam Vigna.
What it is, what it do.
I don't know.
But we're going to find out.
We are going to find out along the way. The movie today, episode 2, is Short Term 12. Holy crap.
You remembered it.
I remember.
Well done.
For some reason, I haven't been able to remember the name of this fucking movie.
All week.
All week.
Until this instant. Clearly, Jim and I we've been putting in work.
Yeah.
I even hesitated.
You did. And I was like, does he have...
What did you want to call it?
Fast Pitch 12.
That's like, I think that's a movie with John Hamm right now.
Is it?
Out in theaters.
Fast Pitch 12?
No.
Moving along from John Hamm's Short Term 12. I love the movie, but I hate the title.
It's okay. I don't think the movie requires you to like its title.
It could have been named anything else.
So the opening scene has the title splayed across it.
I know.
And they say it.
And they say it. They say the words "Welcome to Short Term 12." And
Yeah.
you get like, I don't know what size screen you're watching it on, but for instance, if you're on your notebook there, it's like 72-point font. It's huge.
All the way across.
All the way across.
But-
It's okay.
But
it's okay.
yes, Short Term 12 starring Brie Larson came out in 2013.
That's right.
It was a South by premiere.
I don't know if it was premiered at South by, but it did win both the Audience and Grand Jury Award for Best Narrative Film.
Well, yeah, it deserved it.
Yeah, and it made the festival circuit that year. Didn't get released until, I think, August. Very limited release. And then, thanks to the modern technology that we have today, known as Netflix, you can watch it now, I think, as of, like, January.
Yeah,
so
that's where I watched it.
It's been in the floating around in the public for at least 5 or 6 months.
Because this movie for this episode was your idea for us to watch.
Yeah, it had been on the watch list for South by 2013. So last year's, not this year's. And every showing, I think, was at like 11 a.m. And daylight savings always happens. So 11 a.m.'s like really 10 a.m. And just no. There's
Just
not,
noped right the fuck out of that.
Yeah. I was like, oh, what's playing at 1?
I'm still wiping the sleepies out of my eyes at 1.
I'll be honest, when I went that year, I think I might have seen the title once and was just like, I don't know what this is, fuck it.
Yeah, and well, here's the worst part is, like, because I had it written down, right? Like, I'm scrolling through my iPhone, it's in the calendar, it's, like, very much highlighted. And then you get to, like, the Thursday or Friday when they announce the awards, and I'm like, shit. Like, I had my chance, and I blew it.
I was in bed still. So let's just jump right into talk about it. Is not a genre film.
Well, if you consider indie movies a genre, sure.
Which is kind of the way it's going now.
Well, so Sex, Lies, and Videotape, right, is kind of like the first seminal, like, indie, not indie, indie film, right? Where it's a very small story, it's about a handful of characters, and you kind of follow them over the course of whatever the timeline might be. So if we were to consider kind of that intimate look in on life to be kind of the crux of, like, what indie is, as far as, what we see in like major indie, I'm using giant quotation marks, major indie films, then sure, yeah, I guess it totally fits the bill for something that's indie. I don't know if you could fit it in a shoebox genre-wise, because ultimately what we're looking at is just a character study. It's got plot elements to it and whatnot that kind of drive the characters forward.
But it's not the driving force of the film.
No, right, exactly.
It's basically focusing around 4 key characters.
I mean, yeah, essentially. And I guess, the thing that I took away from it the most was we get run as an audience, you get run through the emotional ringer as it goes on. So in order to, like, we can't sit here and say, like, Dallas Buyers Club, which has really strong characters, but it has such this very clearly defined structure to it, right? Like, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, it's very easy to track. It's very apparent, right? Whereas here, first and second act kind of just bleed together.
They were a little muddy.
They're a little muddy. The third act's relatively strong on its own, but you can tell from a storytelling standpoint, they really wanted to tell the lives of these characters, not so much what, here's the conflict, here's the resolution, here's how you feel. No, it's like we're really just diving into the depths of someone's humanity.
Yeah, we're just taking a peek in their lives and then going away.
Yeah, well, happy. We're
Yeah.
going away happy, and I'm sure
I could have gone the other way on that one.
Were you not happy?
I was happy, actually.
So everyone's happy.
But he wanted Dread.
I didn't want Dread. I would have been okay with Dread.
Jim could have settled for Dread, but and I'm sure we'll talk for a little bit about the ending when we get there. But it's one of those things where I don't feel like the only way I could talk about this film if I stopped by a stranger on the street that had never seen it, and they were like, "What is this all about?" I'd be like, "Well, it's really about
Characters.
the characters."
Yeah.
And that's how we're going to dissect it.
Well, interesting that you bring up the strangers thing. We like to think that everybody listening has seen the movie at least, but on the off chance that they haven't, if you had to elevator pitch this, what would it be?
My elevator pitch?
Yeah.
Okay. Facility for Troubled Children. We have a strong female protagonist who has a troubled background herself. She's kind of a crusader for the kids, and she gets run through the emotional ringer. Along the way, we learn a little something about her, about mental illness, and how there's hope.
There you go.
And then the doors open, and they don't buy my script.
Yeah.
Because I'm terrible at pitching things. There we go.
And then you claim, it was me you're smelling.
Yeah. I did that. I hope it gets stuck in your nose. Yeah. That's...
Well, speaking of smelling, I know that I want to touch on one little character before we dive in
To the meat?
to the meat.
Okay.
Because he's really not meat. So we should just get him out of the way real quick. Is the Great White Hope.
Oh, wow. You want to lead with Mason?
I kind of do, because...
He's meat. I mean, if you think about Mason's character, he's probably on screen half the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he's there, but yeah, no, very hollow. Of our primary players, yeah, he's probably the most. If you knock on him, you'll hear a solid reverberation.
I thought he was completely unrealistic and a plot device. As far as a character goes, I could really... Because, I mean, the movie's about Grace, played by Brie Larson. We get that pretty quickly. She's dating Mason. He's kind of her anchor and support. Fine. He just seems so, for me personally, not like a real human being.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment. There were definitely points in time when I was like, who would do that?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's cynicism, and it's just, I'm so beaten up with cynicism that I'm like, no one could ever be that nice.
Nobody's that altruistic, nice, or,
People have self-interest, right? Somewhere in there.
There's nobody who's that much of a Pollyanna.
There's no foster care kid who is that well adjusted. But cynicism, right? So
He did seem well sculpted for this
well, I mean, okay,
this
so
story.
I'm going to try to pump some realism into him, right? So he is, I mean, right from the jump, right in the opening scene where he's storytelling, right? He's a very affable guy.
Yeah, the story comes in and goes out.
And he's very open, right? Because if you think about the content of that story, he's talking about shitting himself.
Yeah.
Like that's...
To a guy he just met, which
Yeah.
is Nate, supposed to be a weird audience surrogate that I don't think works at all.
No.
So I don't even... That's probably as much as I would talk about Nate for the rest of this.
We're going to come back and do a whole show about Nate and his like 4 scenes.
It'd be two minutes.
And, yeah. and how I felt like I really couldn't impose my own personality on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't connect to him at all.
I'm like, what? Why? Because you feel like that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to be like, look, you're the outsider, audience outsider. Here's your guy.
Yeah, the other people have been in the thick of it. He's new, and I get that as a storytelling thing, but I really could give a shit about him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I did care about Mason as a character, but he was, to me, throughout the entire story, he was the shining hope of happiness and joy and maybe everything will be okay. And that's all. He never really teetered over from that.
Yeah, I mean, even, and I think this might segue us back to Grace and Brie Larson's portrayal, but even in like what I would consider, there's 2 points really for him that I feel like he's pushed, that the character of Mason's pushed, right? So I'm talking about the second one first, which is towards the end when she's like, I can't handle this. And he's finally like, I'm done. Like, I'm out. Like, I can't handle this anymore. either. He basically pleads his case. I've been trying for 3 years.
And then I'm there going like, yay, you're actually being a person. Where are we going to go with this?
Yeah, for once, it seems like he's being a person, and then he deuces out. The second one, which I think is much more interesting because it shows us a lot about who Grace is as a character, comes from when she tells him that she's pregnant. And he's like, oh boy.
Yeah, and
I was like, here it is. He's finally like, and this is my moment, right? Where you're like, he's a real person. I was like, he's totally going to be a real guy now. He's going to be like, we can't, nope, our situation isn't good. Like, we have public jobs, like we work for the county. We can't afford a child on county government wages. This is impossible.
And instead he just comes back and goes like, okay, let's
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah, he's like, I'll just lift myself up by my bootstraps and we'll get through it, And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? And I would be I would be like Grace in the shower. I would have my knees wrapped up to my chest. Just be freaking out.
Even beyond what you think your reaction to it would be, you would almost hope that this guy would come back and be like, okay, let's have an adult discussion about this, an actual frank, instead of like coming back and being like, I'll fix everything because that's why I'm here.
Yeah. I'm Deus Ex,
Yeah.
What am I looking for? Like, not quite plot device, but like your rock. I'm the guy that's gonna be your rock.
Which is kind of like, I don't know, I find it mildly insulting to the strength of Grace in some ways.
See, I think that scene was because the camera never left Grace after he walked out of the room. It never left her because she thought, oh my God, he's going to freak out and leave, and that's what she was expecting. So for him to be a plot device in that scene was for him to come back and do the opposite reaction of what she was expecting, which was
she expecting
hunky-dory.
Okay, she might have expected that. I almost had the feeling she was hoping for it.
I think hope's exactly the right word.
Yeah,
because you can see there's a sign. There's like a
because that would have been
an
an easy out.
Absolutely. Because she could have been like, it's okay. I've already made an appointment.
Yeah, this is being taken care of.
This is it's what's been weighing on me. Like she's opening up just a bit. It's been weighing on me. I'm good. Don't worry.
So his reaction was for her to move forward with her conflict.
Yeah, which just piles more shit on her.
Yeah,
because maybe we need that.
Maybe the discussion should have been like, okay, I'm willing to go through with this, but let's actually talk about the practicality of it. At which point she could have voiced.
But this is not the real world.
But this isn't. It's a movie.
And so we deem him as plot device.
As opposed to a
true character.
Yeah.
But, and I think, you've said this many times, that the content of this movie sans, if you take Mason out of the equation.
Absolutely.
I think we lose a lot of our humor. I think we lose a lot of just general levity that comes through him.
Any ounce of joy in the film is gone
without him. The last 3 minutes. Without him, we don't have it. So I feel like somewhere in the back of the director's mind, who also wrote it, I think he goes, you know what, it's heavy shit, and we're gonna need little bits of light to be injected here, so I can deliver the blows later on.
And the blows do come.
Yeah, Fast and Furious.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the blows with Grace.
All right. I guess you want me to just run them down? I'll just run them down.
That's the best thing to do.
So, we've already established that she gets pregnant, and I guess we kind of start with Grace. Just seems like this is her job. This is what she does. She has it down, right? She has a connection with these kids. She's got a good rapport.
Good question. What is her job exactly? She's
more or less. Her, Mason, Nate. They're basically stewards, right?
They're frontline guys.
They're frontline folks.
Yeah, they're the general staff that are taking care of these kids. They're not the therapists. They're not the doctors. They're just there to camp counselors almost.
Not even camp. Yeah, I guess maybe camp counselors. Maybe less than camp counselors. More like, hey, don't break shit. You know, they're there to keep.
Sorry, that's a level drop.
Yeah, I swore. But yeah, they're there to, and I've said this before, they're trying to just keep the inmates inside the asylum. That's all they're looking to do, and that's established in the very first scene.
With Sammy
running balls to the wall to the gate.
His daily escape attempt.
And they hunt him down, and that's like, okay, this is their job.
Right.
And you can tell just from those opening moments, you're like, all right, I think that this person is in command, right? And then that slowly gets eroded.
Oh, even among the rest of the staff, she seems to be in the either appointed or de facto leader.
Yeah, she's
Position.
like the most tenured,
Yeah.
for instance, or at least like the head of the stewards is,
Yeah.
is all.
Because there's you have Nate, and then there's the other character
whose name escapes.
whose name escapes
don't
me
know her
because
name.
she just shows up, says something.
Lady McPrettyface. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's what she was credited.
Yeah,
as.
she delivers a couple lines.
Well, actually, I know the actress's name. I'm pretty sure that's Stephanie Beatriz.
Oh, okay, I'll take your word for it.
Well, she's on that Andy Samberg show, Fox.
The 9 something.
Brooklyn Nine.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which was bothering me throughout, like, watching the movie the first time. I'm like, I know you, I don't know you. Like, what are you from?
Stephanie Beatrice. Jessica. There you go.
Jessica. I lost my train of thought there for a second. I'm sorry.
I was waiting to see where you were going with this.
But yeah, no, Grace definitely seems to be the de facto leader of all these people. The other ones are very superfluous and kind of just serve they're not set dressing, but they serve plot pieces. This is, at the end of the day, Grace's story.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, Mason's not even the only character that's there to service the conflict of Grace. You have Jaden, who shows up later.
Yeah. So, like I said, we get Grace as kind of this power figure almost, and we're like, okay, so maybe she's gonna fix these kids, right? Is at least what I'm thinking. Like, I'm picturing her as some sort of rock savior number, right? And then within 10 minutes, she's pregnant, and she jumps at an abortion immediately. We're like, okay, something's up here.
And then we discover it's her second one.
We discover it's not the first time. Okay, shit happens. People make mistakes. Maybe she was like 18 or something. Maybe she was like a senior in high school. Yeah, whatever. Works a government job. I get it, right? And then, as we move on, once Jaden shows up, she starts letting the breadcrumbs start to come out, right? So there's a scene with Jaden when she's like, hey, I'm a cutter. I did this too, right? And then she alludes to her family situation, how she was living with her dad, and, mom was gone. She was out of the picture. I would assume dead would be my guess, because she kind of never gets brought up again. So we're like, okay, so there's like a history of either mental illness or abuse, who knows? The movie keeps trugging along. We definitely understand that Grace is damaged. We don't know why. And then they get a phone call. Her dad's coming out of prison. That seems to set her off. And then in our almost, I'd say, as far as major scenes are concerned, our penultimate scene, we learn that dad is sexually abusive. He's the cause of the first pregnancy, and she's been repressing this for damn near ever.
And it only came out when she met Jaden.
And it only came, which thought that, and you guys are, I know you're going to turn me around on it because we've talked about it a little bit already, but that is the one statement that Grace has that I disagree with the most. I cannot.
Oh, how she said, I haven't even thought about it until you came along.
Yeah, she turns to Jaden very, very blankly and says that, and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, you have that's massive shit. Like, how can you not have processed a modicum of that by now?
Because her job is her life. And whenever you're that damaged, you have to focus on something else to put everything else out of your head. Yes, she's going to think about it once a day for the rest of her life, or more. But she tries to put up things in between it.
Yeah, I don't think the statement is really like, I've never once had a thought about it. I've never sat down and dealt with it.
I see, and like that's one of those things where I don't understand how you can have her job dealing with equally troubled kids and not have the ghost of that memory crop up from time to time. It just seems strange.
It probably does, but I mean, there's probably a level to which she's dealt with it where she's like, I'm good. That's all I needed to do with it.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm ignoring
it. And it goes away now. I can focus on helping these kids. I can focus on
doing
my job.
Because she's not really focusing on herself. Like, she got careless. She got pregnant.
Yeah.
Wasn't thinking about herself first.
And
she's not an emotionally available person because of this.
That's true. And, in thinking about, what you said with, I'm going to focus on these kids, I think it goes above and beyond just focusing on the children, whoever it may be. She's, in full-on projection mode onto those kids, right? Like, she's tying her hopes and dreams and whatever of her, I think, ever being normal or well, she's placing those on folks like Jaden, on folks like Marcus. And, when their, fates turn at the end of the movie, so do hers. Like, her emotions go fucking haywire because theirs go haywire. And I guess I can buy the argument that she's, very effectively put up walls because of that. It's just, that's what took me out. That scene is what took me out of the movie. Luckily, there was like 6 minutes left. So it wasn't that bad. It didn't happen early. But yeah, that just leaves an absolute bad taste in my mouth.
I'm totally fine with that scene.
Yeah.
Because I can see where it's coming from. I can see... Because you're right. It comes at 6 minutes before the movie's done. I would hope we know Grace at this point to kind of understand exactly what she's saying, Like, well, what would you say? Would you say, like, you know what? Till I met you, I had all these walls put up, like a 12-minute monologue, or just been like, I never really thought about it. I never really dealt with it,
I mean, that's what a normal person would say.
Exactly.
But like I said, just
once again, why I have issues with characters like Mason, because everybody in this film, even Jaden, is so well fleshed out to be like an actual person. You can sit there and be like, yes, these reactions make sense to me. The way that they're phrasing things, the way they're communicating, the context of what's being spoken is very much in the manner that people would speak, minus all the uhs and weird awkward pauses, because that's just not good movie making. You're as close to realistic conversation as you can really get. It's a strength of the writing, I thought.
Yeah, no, I'll give you the dialogue's pretty tight.
It didn't feel heavy-handed with the delivery. It didn't feel let's describe story and get to point A to point B. It all happened very naturally.
So, I guess you brought up kind of like other characters, and you touched on Jaden, but you never dove into it as being believable. And sure, I guess, but Jaden's a trope.
She is, and she's also a plot device, but even then, as a plot device, I feel she's more realistic than Mason. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with the fact that because in Jaden, what it seems like they were trying to do was create a 12-year-old mirror of Grace. And,
sure.
And for me, personally, like once you kind of look at those two characters as the same character out of time...
Yeah, they're going through the same things. They like to draw. That's where they get their stuff out.
No, absolutely. I liked that character better when it was played by Angelina Jolie and growing her up to like if you're gonna give I don't know, there's something about like the I'm I'm an outsider, I'm rough and I'm tough and I put my headphones in and ignore the world and rah 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 rah. Like I'm disturbed because it's cool. Like that's kind of how I felt about her, and I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Like, comes out of nowhere, is totally cliche, and
it's one of those cliches I can kind of sit there and go like, yeah, I've known that kid, Okay. I've grown up around those kids, not specifically for the same reason that she's being antisocial and contrarian in a lot of ways, but I mean, when you're at that age, and the tropes of rebellious teenager are there for a reason.
A really great scene between Grace and Jaden was when they were comparing scars. And that really kind of put Jaden in her place as, yes, you may call yourself a cutter, but look at what some real damage does. She wasn't glorifying it. It was a cautionary
tale. Yeah.
And when Jaden was just like, holy shit, that's kind of like, okay, you're not that much of a self-proclaimed badass.
Yeah. I mean, this movie has this kind of interesting wish fulfillment that I think a lot of adults have at some point. How could things go if you actually interacted with younger you? And instead of going this weird magical realism where she's actually dealing with her, she's dealing with a very good stand-in for her. Yeah. That fits a lot of the criteria, and that concept is kind of the driving force behind Grace. Because Grace's conflict here and the things she goes through, imagine how it would go, the series of events, if Jaden wasn't there. If Jaden wasn't a character in this film, if that element had been completely cut out, you have this catalyst for her to come to terms with a lot of things in her life that she thought maybe she'd come to terms with. But all of these other things happen because we see what happens with Marcus, later in the film. We see what happens with you know, the baby and the relationship. If you didn't have Jaden there, all those things would have been 10 times worse.
So you think we would have had like a catatonic main character had
I
Jaden not existed?
I think she would have had a much more difficult time processing.
So you're looking at her. She's like a release valve.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she is that wish of being like, I need to deal with my inner child at some point.
I just wish we didn't get such a cliched character.
Well, she definitely she has some cliches about her, but again, we may just have to agree that she is a plot device.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
She has more character than Mason.
That's not hard though.
No, but
Sammy has more character than Mason.
Yeah.
and he does spend half the movie catatonic. So there you go.
But when Grace attaches herself to Jaden as no one was there for me when I was her age, I'm going to be there for her, and project all of this stuff outwardly and try to do all the things that I wish someone would do for me. Like when she takes the baseball bat and goes and stands over her dad's bed.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, as far as like the mirror aspect of the two characters, there's no greater scene than the sketch scene.
Oh,
Yeah.
the octopus story.
And
No,
then,
not the octopus. When they're
Oh,
just
when they're
sketching.
sketching. When they're sketching.
And they're
yeah.
talking about their...
Yeah, not the octopus story.
Grace is talking about her mom.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Jaden has the, well, maybe you were just trying to
Keep him away from her.
and she goes, huh,
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
And you know, thinking back now, I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing. Okay, that's, yeah, I get it.
Mhm.
I get it. I wish I didn't, but I get it. You know, so I don't know. That one's. It's very difficult for Jaden to win me over, unless there had been the octopus scene.
That was her. It made up for her being a trope, for being a plot device, because that was her scene. That was her saying, check this out, I'm kind of worth it to be in this story because of this.
Yeah, and the actress, I guess, according, it seems like her name's Caitlin Dever, and like that's her scene, like that's her time to shine, and she definitely rises to the occasion. I really hope they did that in one take, like
not just torturing her all day long,
right? Like, cause man, I mean, you talk about like a movie that I think has a lot of emotional lows. That's probably the darkest moment.
Yeah.
Because at that time you really understand like what this individual has been through.
Yeah, that scene honestly made me cry. I will come out and say that scene made me cry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to cry. You know, a couple times I welled up. I didn't get over the top.
The water didn't fall from your face.
Yeah, no, like my tear ducts were malfunctioning or something. But I got there. I was like, you know, you bite your knuckle, and I'm not a I don't know, a robot like Jim. You're looking at me like you.
I didn't. I mean, I understand the emotional impact of the scene. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting there going like, oh, this is whatever. But I wouldn't say that I got to the point of being teary-eyed like at any point in this movie.
I mean, do you think? Okay, so like when we sat down, I mean, did we all watch this as individuals?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, minus my first viewing when I had the lady with me for the first time. The second time I watched it as an individual. So do you think because we're all watching it critically that might be the reason why, or are you just?
I was watching it critically, but then I found myself sucked into it, and it just washed over me. Like I couldn't help it.
I was never really sucked into the movie because, like I had stated before we even recorded this, there's problems with the pacing of the second act.
In quotation marks.
Because it could have still been the first act. That took me out of it for a little bit. But even then, I mean, I'm just going to be honest, I've never been really one to get teary-eyed at a movie.
If a scene is well acted and well put together, and all the strings come up right, or if there's no sound at all, I let it affect me. I don't hope that it does, but if it does, then
so be it.
Then so be it. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'll remember that.
All right.
And I will remember the octopus scene for a very long time.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things in this movie I'll remember. If anyone's like short term 12, I'll be like, fucking octopus scene.
Yeah,
will definitely be one of those things that comes up.
Oh,
and the other one is going to be the head shaving scene.
Yeah, I was just about to say it's as heartbreaking to me as the head shaving scene.
Okay, so do we? I mean, we've done a. I think we've kind of covered race fairly well,
Well,
which means you have to talk about Jaden.
yeah, I think the problem with covering Grace, and really since we're using the format of talk about the characters in this one because it is a character study, Grace is the main character that we're studying, and we're given these other characters to study her. So it's kind of, I feel like no matter where this conversation goes, it's always going to come back to Grace because that's the function
I
of
think-
almost all the characters except for one.
Yeah, and I would say I have this feeling like Bishop's like. Can we talk about Marcus?
He was
I feel like he's itchy.
he was the best thing about this movie. Every time he was on screen, every time he had a line, everything he was pouring over was the thing that I was wanting to watch.
Okay, I understand you're hot to trot, but
Hey.
you told me there had to be a Geekquisition in here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna stop your flow
All right.
midstream.
Stick in the spoke.
Yeah, I'm making you cut it off, man. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
All right.
So, but I came prepared. I came prepared to ask a question.
With the Geekquisition.
Yes.
I think we should explain what the Geekquisition is to listeners because we've been talking about the Geekquisition, but we didn't instill it in the first episode.
Yeah, you threw it at me and it was terrible.
Yeah, we cut it out.
It was awful.
It was bad.
Didn't
Thank
help. I
goodness no one heard it.
I knew none of the questions.
No.
You guys were like, "What about?" And I was like, "I don't."
I don't watch
He had like a
movies.
rom-com question about Matt. I don't know.
It's Matthew McConaughey. How are you not going to have a rom-com?
You're like, in failure to launch,
Yeah.
who was the best boy? No.
Yeah.
All right, so let's hear it.
Yeah.
Is this directed at me,
This is. I'm
or is
gonna,
this open?
I'm gonna ask. It's open.
Okay.
We'll see if either of you can get it. So.
Well, I'll put this away so you don't think I'm cheating. Then.
Yeah, please. No IMDb. No Google.
No devices. Can
No
I use my
devices.
calculator?
No, you may not. Because I feel like you're just going to enter boobs into it.
That's what they're for.
Yeah, you're just going to be like, oh, it says boobs. All right, so Brie Larson, I think my first, time I noticed her was when she was on the United States of Terra,
I still haven't seen that.
which it's okay. You don't have to have seen it. Have you, Jim?
Yes.
Then you're told this is not for you in that case because you'll get this question correct. So
What?
you trust me. So in the United States of Terra, essentially, Brie Larson is the daughter of a mother who has multiple personalities.
Mm-hmm.
I have a list of personalities here.
Okay.
Some of them, and by that I mean all but one, are real personalities on the show.
Okay.
Okay, I want you to tell me which one is not.
Which one is not?
Be like, that is the one that is not a part of the show. All right.
Okay, so since I haven't seen the show, what is the main character
Okay,
with
so
the personality?
Toni Collette
Okay.
plays like a housewife, essentially, artist who had some shit happen in her
Mhm.
past, and she now is basically produced split personalities to cope.
What's her occupation?
She primarily homemaker. She does some artsy fartsy stuff
Okay.
on the side.
All right.
Okay, you good?
Yeah.
Here we go. All right. So, which one of these is not a personality that she has? A. Someone named Buck, an aggressive man's man. B. Someone named T, a 16-year-old promiscuous girl. C. Someone named Mike Mathers, a freestyle rapper. Or D. Someone named Alice, basically a June Cleaver clone.
What was A again?
A is Buck, an aggressive man's man.
I'll say that one. I'll say A.
You are incorrect.
I'm incorrect?
You're incorrect.
Can I say the correct
You
answer?
absolutely can.
It's C.
It is C. Mike Mathers, a freestyle rapper, is not a personality that Toni Collette's character has. Could she pull it off?
Yes.
Probably, yeah. Because she pulls off Buck like a champ.
Yeah.
So,
And you've seen Mirror's Wedding.
yeah, she could totally. She
Yeah.
could drop a verse.
No,
Oh,
but
that's fun.
Buck's one of the best
Yeah,
characters.
Buck's
in the
probably my favorite personality. That's why I led with Buck. It was the first one I remembered. There you go. Watch it.
I will.
Okay.
Is that a Showtime?
It is a Showtime show. I think what, we get 3 seasons.
show. Yeah.
It's on Netflix now.
Got
right?
3 seasons. Patton Oswalt's in it. It's quite good.
Oh, then I'll watch it.
So my own question,
Oh, we have Geekquisition Part 2.
and this will be levied at you because you've seen it. But who is the executive producer for that show?
The executive producer, Diablo Cody,
Yes.
also the writer.
Yeah.
All right.
Bam, Yahtzee.
And Spielberg.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Had a hand in that show.
Go Steven Spielberg. So because I always remember it was always like when it was advertised, it was like from the person that brought you Juno,
Yeah.
the United States of Terra, and I was like,
Didn't she do Teeth?
No.
No, you're thinking of Jennifer's Body. No.
Oh, okay,
Is it?
yeah.
Jennifer's Body is
Yeah,
Diablo Cody
Jennifer's
as well.
Body is what
Okay.
you're thinking.
And
We
young,
should-
young Adult, which I love that movie.
loved Young Adult.
I have not seen it.
Holy shit! What an amazing film.
So you're okay. I didn't. The midstream cutoff was
No, that's good.
was tolerable.
That's good.
So concludes.
The first annual Geekquisition.
Yeah, and I feel like
Annual.
it's
the first
well,
episode.
today is June 2nd. We'll see you next year. Yeah. I'm glad. I feel like having a hand in it made it easier. I could be like abusive about it. Like if I got a question wrong, it'd be okay because I asked one. That's fine.
Yeah.
Just for this, I'm gonna dig up the cut audio for your
It's tacked onto the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Here's Adam
all
floundering.
45 minutes of
Oh,
it.
it's so terrible.
I think it would actually be just as bad for us as well because the questions were pretty shite.
I think I can cut it down to like 20 seconds of funny.
Yeah, just me going. I don't.
I've never seen that.
I've never seen
I
that.
don't know what
I'm
you're talking about.
I had my pinky way out the entire time. I was like, I'm so above this.
Next question.
I can't possibly answer these questions about rom-coms. That's
Pass
basic.
me my cognac.
Yes, please. Is there a biscotti that comes with this? But all right, so back to Marcus.
To Marcus, again, one of my favorite parts in this movie. The actor, I can never remember his name.
Keith?
Oh, he's close.
Kevin?
No, Keith.
No, it was
down.
Keith?
I'm
Okay.
cheating.
Stanfield.
He can see my screen.
I
Oh.
can't see it well.
He's lying. But Keith Stanfield.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think this was his first big role. I mean, he was in. So we didn't mention it, but Short Term 12 was originally a short.
True.
I think 5 years before it was a feature. So it was essentially Dustin Cretton's student film.
Mhm.
Would be my guess that he later platformed off into his first feature.
Probably should have found that and watched it.
I don't. Good luck. Generally, I mean,
Did you look?
I didn't look, and because none of us watched it on DVD, I
Yeah.
don't know if it's like an extra on disc, for instance. But I certainly haven't seen it. With that said, he comes off as like a very seasoned individual.
He has chops.
He has some serious
Chops for days.
But why don't you like him so much? Why don't you just give us the rundown of who Marcus is?
Well, he's the oldest kid there. He really keeps to himself, untrusting of really anyone around him. He's about to be released. He's about to turn 18. And the thing that he wants most is to have his head shaved. And they keep focusing on that, and he keep repeating it. And even after the fight with Luis, and we're just like, why? Why does he want his head shaved? That's not much of a big deal. And then she has the line of, well, I'm going to hold the razor. And it's like, well, okay, well, maybe he's suicidal.
Yeah, we don't know.
And their deflection was really clever.
Yeah, they keep you guessing.
Yeah, they do, and they do that with a lot of characters in this, and it's really well handled.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you brought that up because I was like, man, I did play like a little guess the disorder throughout the movie. I was like, I wonder what this one's disorder is. Broken home? No. Drugs? No.
Like Luis. Why is Luis there?
Drugs. It's one of those things where I don't know. Bad attitude. It's kind of a dick. But no, I think for me, if I was to distill the whole thing out and someone was like, what was the best part of Short Term 12? Marcus.
Yeah.
Strongest character, probably least amount of screen time for anyone that had a significant plot role. I think we might get 15-ish minutes with Marcus.
Yeah.
And I think, and this is what kind of makes me angry about folks like Jaden or folks like Mason, who I don't feel like they can exist on their own. I feel like I could have had a movie about Marcus and
all the way,
been completely satisfied with
Mhm.
it. And it's because there is a guy who, as a character, is completely self-actualized. Like he does not he could exist anywhere. He does not need that environment or other characters to prop him up. And I think that goes to the strength of Keith Stanfield as an actor. And I think he has a little bit of help in the fact that he's the only character that was in the short
right.
as well. So
he already knows his character.
He already knows the character. I wouldn't be surprised if the storyline is lifted straight out of the short and into the feature. But either way, that aside, it is still the best part of this movie.
and we get his entire story in one scene, leading up to him being in the home for the kids.
Are you talking about the freestyle?
The freestyle. The freestyle was so well done. It could have been terrible.
It absolutely could. Yeah, that is something that could have blown up in the oven. That kid could have easily not made it out.
And you have Mason that comes in, has a little bonding scene with Marcus, and the trust is wanting to be there, where he shows him the beat on the bongo,
Oh, I'd say it's definitely there.
Mhm.
and but he starts letting loose this rap, and it really shows how deep of a character that he is. His whole child story about his mom and
It for me, it's the most interesting. Maybe not interesting, but it's one of the more clever ways to do exposition for a character. Like, yeah, he's still telling us what happened, but in the same breath, like there's vocal tremble as he's going through that, right? Like you can tell he's holding on to tell that story.
yeah.
About basically an abusive mother that's in the drug game. Like, I'm like, shit. Like that's it. That's the whole deal. And it was at that point in time that's when I became attached. I was like, that's my guy. And the whole entire time you're like, if there's one person that makes it out of this in one piece, it's gonna be him.
Please let him be the happy nugget of the story.
Please let it be Marcus.
And then you almost don't get it.
And the worst part is, before you almost don't get it, they have the head shaving scene after the freestyle, right? So you're already kind of feeling for this guy. He tells us a story, and then in the head shaving scene, what does he say?
Is it lumpy?
Is it lumpy? And they're like, what do you mean, is it lumpy? And he's like, that's where she hit me. And if you're seeing that, you probably lost it in that scene too, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. He told. I knew it.
I did.
I knew you lost it.
And-
That's when I came the closest. I was like, oh man, he's kind of
Because he said, I always keep my hair long because I'm afraid that it was lumpy.
Yeah, and he's like, are there any scars? Is there anything? He's like, no, there's no trace.
Yeah.
Right? And from a dialogue standpoint and like a physicality standpoint, I was like, he's over it now, right? Like I think he's good to go. And that's the false hope that gets implanted where you're like, Marcus is good, man, he got his head shaved, he's gonna make it.
But then
He's gonna be A-okay.
so
So
his fish dies.
the fish in rap,
Nas.
the fish named Nas. We should have known a rap was gonna happen once we learned the fish was named Nas.
Yep.
We should have expected it. I love it. By the way, 20th anniversary of Illmatic.
Oh boy.
We're all getting old. So let's talk about, we almost don't have Marcus. We come very close to not having a Marcus after the fish dies.
Yeah, because we think through him that Luis did it, because Luis has been fucking with him the whole movie.
Yeah, we get the subtle drop when Grace gets to short term 12. Jessica, who thankfully we now know her name. Thank you, Jim. Stephanie Beatrice's character says, "Oh, he thinks Luis did it."
Yeah.
And Grace is immediately like, I'm gonna fuck that kid up if he killed this dude's fish, right? And Luis is very much like, what are you talking about? It's not me. And Grace is still like, and he's like, no, it was. She's like, okay, so
This is all in the Very Bad Day.
yes,
So let's do a
Yes.
quick rundown of the Very Bad Day.
let's back it up. So so that's the second thing that happens in the Very Bad Day. So the first thing that happens in Grace's incredibly bad day, which should have been the subtitle for short term 12, Grace's really bad day. She gets the call that her dad's getting out of prison.
Yep.
So that kind of sets the ball, and things aren't okay.
She just wants to be alone. She just wants to work. She gets there.
She wants to escape.
Right. And
The fish?
no, Jake.
Jaden.
Well, no.
The fish first.
The fish is first.
So she
Fish
shows
is
up.
first.
She shows up. She's checking in. Jessica's like, Marcus's fish died.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then she tries to solve that problem, and she gets shut down. Marcus is like, I just want to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
And she hears that news. I just want to be alone. So now it's time. Let me go find my other surrogate here. Let me go find Jaden and make sure she's okay. Maybe I can fix something there.
But
And
she's not there.
no. Where's she? Who's she with, Jim?
She's at home with
But-
Dad
but dear
because
old
he's
Dad.
checked her out for the weekend.
The shark who ate all the octopus's arms.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's where she's staying.
And this is after she's realized what's going on.
Yeah,
This is
this-
after she's even wrote a report about it.
exactly, and this sends Grace fucking full scale nuclear meltdown. And she marches into the director's office. A guy named Jack tries to plead her case. Fucking just totally demolishes his pretentious ass lamp.
So great.
which is awesome. I'm like, you fucking smash that lamp, girl. Get up, right? And then when she re-enters from smashing a lamp, Marcus isn't in his room. Oh shit, where's Marcus? He's in Luis's room, sitting down with a bloody piece of glass in his hand, presumably from the little fishbowl.
Leading to the audience to think that he killed Luis.
Luis is asleep.
Yep.
But he's on his stomach.
Yeah.
Didn't even know Marcus was there.
Had no idea. And that's when we find that Marcus has slit his wrist.
Slit his arm.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because
straight
you
down the
get a
tracks.
good glimpse of that. It was
Yeah.
like,
It's the whole arm.
It is wrist to damn near elbow. Yeah.
yeah.
It's stem to stern, and he kind of slides off the door. Grace does her best to grab a
all
pillowcase.
hope of happiness for Marcus was almost gone.
Yeah,
at that
I
point.
think that's probably that's our darkest moment. It's like all hope is fucking lost, man. And I'm myself angry. I'm like, you can't do this to me, you motherfucker. I will not stand for it. And luckily, it all works out.
Well, yeah, they go to the hospital. She has a spat with
Mason.
Mason.
Right, which we talked about. That's like the one time that Jim and I thought he was, or the second time I thought, the first time Jim thought he was going to be real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this just adds to the very bad day.
It's just more the very bad day. Now your boyfriend can't handle you.
Yep.
Yeah.
She
so-
says, "I can't marry you. I can't have the kid." He
Can't-
says,
I'm out.
I'm out. She rides a bike.
Does what I think is the most unhinged thing you can do, which is commit breaking and entering. Right?
Well, she knew where the key was.
Yeah, okay.
That's so great, B&E.
It's-
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's light on the B, very heavy on the E.
Takes the baseball bat.
And here's the thing: I was like, she's not going to kill this dude.
I thought
Yeah.
she was.
I'm
I
like,
didn't think
this
she
is
was
not
going
going to
to.
happen.
See,
Like,
I'm weird. I thought that Marcus killed Luis, and I thought that she was going to kill the dad.
you just think
Just-
people have murderous intents.
I
Yeah.
guess.
You're like short-term 12 body count.
Yep.
Let's raise it to 2. But
There's a 12 in this movie's title for a reason.
yeah, it's going to be 12 dead kids back. But no, I thought I was like, all right, maybe she takes like a swing, like breaks his pelvis, and then Jaden comes in and stops it. Like I was thinking that's going to be like the worst
Maybe
possible
maybe
scenario.
pulls the misery.
Yeah,
Clubs
breaks
his-
some ankles. Why not? But no, she doesn't, and they smash his car instead,
Which was
and,
a great scene.
And yeah, I mean, you can see that she really gets it out on an inanimate object, and that's okay. And that kind of sends us hurtling towards a hasty resolution where it is all
Real quick about that scene with Jaden in the car and Grace. Jaden's dad beats the shit out of her and molests her and all that. A tiny bit of dialogue that I found later after having it sink in, where she was like, "You can't touch the car; he'll freak out." It's like cares more about the car than her. He damages his daughter, focuses on the car.
Well, I think that's shown through how look at how he treats her.
I
She's
just-
like a complete object. I mean, do we ever get a concrete reason why she can't stay at home?
No.
No.
No, we're never provided with one. So, this is a guy of, a certain amount of, I would say, psychosis and narcissism because, this is an abused girl that he has no problem putting in front of social workers, in front of other kids where that story could easily come out in a relatability side of things.
Yeah, but it's already proved that she won't talk about it.
Yeah, so, he's absolutely above it.
I just thought that was like, oh shit, what a piece of asshole.
Yeah.
What a piece of asshole.
That's a new insult.
Yeah.
You've heard it here first. Piece of asshole.
It's like a really bad pizza.
But yeah, I mean that pretty much that brings us to the end. A car gets smashed, and we learn that Jaden's going to turn dear old dad in.
Well, yeah, I mean, the car smashes. She goes back to Mason's. They make up.
We learn Marcus is going to be okay. It's like the first thing he says.
Yeah, that's two happy things in one scene.
Yeah,
Even though we never see Marcus again after that.
we don't have to see him.
We don't. We just need to know he's okay.
I just need. That's all I needed to know. I was
And,
like,
and we do.
oh, I hope he's not just saying that. and
like he's like, no, he's gonna be. No, I'm totally joking.
yeah,
he's
no,
dead. He died like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I just said that because I didn't want you to leave. Tonight. I was like, whew.
Or the movie's just like there's a phone call after he says it.
Yeah.
You know how we said
No, it's total. Yeah, and I was like, whew, big thing of sweat off my brow.
So all of these horrible things end with happy, happy, happy. Well, maybe not happy, happy.
No, not as
But they end on a high note.
I'd say they end on a path to wellness.
Yeah.
Of some degree, right? So in the very final scene, right? Mason once again. So boomerang to the beginning, where Mason's once again telling a story. right? It's a storyteller's dream. He claims that he's a storyteller very early on. And we hear the story about a girl that was at Short Term 12 that Marcus kind of very smoothly hit on, but never got the time of day. And now that he's out in the real world, guess who he's dating? He's dating that hot chick from way back when. He's got a job. He's going to be going to classes. Everything's worked out for Marcus, right? That's how his storyline's resolved. Is via Mason's tale. And then, before then, we get kind of a montage of, here's Grace. She's in therapy. She's
finally talking about
it. Or at least trying to.
Yeah.
We get this ultrasound scene where it seems like she's kind of accepted what's going on. And
that was another little scene that kind of made me go, Merp. Like, oh, that's sad happy.
Yeah, it sure. Sad happy.
I'm just a puddle of emotion.
I didn't lose it for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim's
a fucking robot.
Jim, be sure to oil those joints, buddy. But no, I think, and this goes back to my first time viewing with the lady. Her big complaint was that we kind of got a bow, a very neatly wrapped gift at the end of this movie, where it's like everything works out. Like people,
or it's on its way to working.
Or it's on its way to working out. But yeah, it's like these people have gone in and they've addressed the fact that they have a problem, and now they're gonna go fix it. Her big complaint, which I agree with, is that's not what's gonna happen in real life, right? Like someone somewhere is gonna have like a hiccup of some capacity, and I chewed on that on an airplane, and I was like, maybe, and I brought this up earlier, it's like maybe we're just a little too cynical. Maybe sometimes we, as an audience, as moviegoers, we deserve a happy ending. And damn it, when I watched it a second time, I was like, I'm happy.
I'm taking it, damn it.
I'm taking it. Yeah, because, they're somewhere out there, Lars von Trier is making something where I'm not going to be happy.
No.
At all.
Not whatsoever.
And so I need to take the small victories when I can.
And we got 4.
I got 3.5. I don't know about Mason. He seemed all right from the beginning.
Yeah.
But things work out for him too. Good for you, buddy. So, I think, and this is the question that really asked myself at the end of, any movie that I watch, which was the journey, was it worth it?
For the characters or as an audience?
No, as an audience.
As an audience, like, we've sat down, we've committed our time. Was what was presented worth it? Did it change me? Why?
Can I go first?
Absolutely.
I totally feel that it was worth it. Even though we had declared these 2 characters as plot devices, I feel that without them, the story would have been atrociously sad. And I'm really glad we got those happy endings. Because if Marcus had died, I would have just been pissed. Or if, she had lost the baby or some reason, or, the abortion, or they broke up and all this stuff. Like, I'm glad we got those wins.
Yeah, there was no yelling at the screen.
No.
Yeah.
Jim?
It was worth the one viewing of it.
So... It's
a one and done for me.
It's a one and done. What does that mean?
Some movies out there, I watch it and I go, hey, I dug this. I'll go buy it. I'll see it again.
Would you tell somebody else to watch it?
Oh yeah, and I might even watch it with them. But
not on your own.
No. There's never going to be like a Sunday where I'm like, I guess I'm just going to watch Short Term 12.
I'm just going to relax.
Just going to make some soup. Watch this movie.
Wind down my day.
Yeah.
Scream into a washcloth.
Which we didn't mention that. That was a beautiful fucking scene though.
That scene's 20 seconds long.
And it's a beautiful scene.
It is pretty great.
But
and it's one of those things. It's one of those scenes that lingers.
Yeah,
just a bit longer than you expect it to, which is perfect.
And that's for me. There's that. This movie is very competently done. It's very understated. It's put together rather well. Actually, I feel like me saying competently done is almost like it sounds like it's an insult. I don't mean it as such at all.
That's an insult to what we normally get to watch as like the American populace, right?
Yeah, this is a lot better than your standard fare, and I'll take that. But
what do you think?
I'm going to platform off what he said and be a little more specific. So, competently made. I think this is a very well-directed film. I think, given the story, given the characters, there's a certain level of intimacy that the director manages to get across, right? We get a lot of handheld camera work. I think maybe 90% of this is handheld work. And it just draws me in to those individuals. Really just kind of ropes me. Like, oh, there's like an immediacy here.
It feels like life.
Yeah, and in that regard, like, I think it's above and beyond competent. For instance, I think it has an affect on you, and that's a big deal. Especially, this is I kind of glossy mentioned it. It's the guy's name's Destin Cretton. This is his first feature. This is the first time he made a 90+ minute movie.
Damn good job.
And this is what we get. So in that regard, kind of knowing the circumstance that it was born out of, it was absolutely worth it. Do I feel changed in any regard? Do I feel informed? Not necessarily. I think that it's very important from like a social awareness standpoint to kind of talk about mental health in America in any capacity possible, because we tend to ignore it as individuals of this nation. But I think that this movie we could have easily done this discussion about mental health and tied it into this movie. I don't know if we could have gone on for an hour, but I think we could have had a poignant conversation about it. And if this movie goes out into the world and it sparks that talk amongst some friends or some theater goers, then great. I think you're very responsible in your subject matter, and massive thumbs up to that. Would I watch it again? Hell no.
Not even with someone?
Maybe with someone. This is one of those things where, I know there's a happy ending, but I get taken through the ringer, beginning to end. And I'm going to avoid that. Like I said, Lars von Trier's out there. I need to marshal my resolve if and when it happens. So
you don't want to watch the octopus scene again?
I don't want to watch the octopus scene again. I absolutely don't. But overall,
can you imagine if Lars von Trier had made this movie?
Oh, Jesus.
There's a 60-minute podcast. there's enough to go on for that guy. But yeah, I'm glad that we decided to take the time and do it critically, because it's
and I'm gonna follow the director for his next couple projects, see how he does. Hopefully they do just keep going up. And I'm definitely gonna follow Stanfield, Keith Stanfield. It's his Bond name.
Stanfield.
Yeah, he said Stanfield. I'm like, there's only one Stanfield in my head, and that's Gary Oldman from The Professional. That's the only person that gets to be called Stanfield just by that name.
Yeah, I think Keith Stanfield has. I think he has the ability in the future to generate Oscar buzz.
Yeah.
I think he gets it from an acting standpoint. I think he knows how to embody a character, and that's in a young man. I think he was 21 or 22 when this was made. So I expect great, or at least good things coming from that guy. I hope a casting director sees this and says, there's some talent there that we can work with.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Well, does anybody have anything else?
I'm done.
Short-term 12.
Good.
Short-term 12. Join us next time. We have a great film lined up for next time. Jim, do you want to...
Drag me to hell.
Drag me to hell. We're gonna...
He's grinning ear to ear. You might hear that he was grinning ear to ear in the way he said the title.
Oh, I love that fucking movie.
Yeah, Jim's seen it. I've only seen the first 5 minutes of it. I got distracted.
I've never even... No. I heard Sam Raimi made another horror film.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. I think this is good. We're diving into genre. We're descending from the high horse.
We need a break.
Yeah, this is... I'm hoping for just some good old-fashioned horror and blood and guts and fun.
Well, we shall see.
We'll see what happens. I'm probably going to be a really unhappy camper. Say that in advance.
It's going to be funny if we come back and I'm like, so the movie, you guys have fucking hated it. Jim's the only one who likes it.
We'll see what happens.
Well, go watch Drag Me
Just
to
don't
Hell.
expect it to be transcendent. You should be fine.
Okay.
And join us next time. Roundtable Movie Talk. Thanks.